All right, next we're doing George Washington Carver, and this one is actually, it looks like it's pretty short, which is kind of nice, not gonna lie. All right, so George Washington Carver, page 269. George Washington Carver, 1864 to 1943. I love to think of nature as unlimited broadcasting stations through which God speaks to us every day, every hour, and every moment of our lives. If we will only tune in and remain so. Letter to Hubert W. Pelt, February 24th, 1930. Just before the end of the Civil War, the Peanut Man was born. Most people today know this man as George Washington Carver. Despite his humble beginnings and funny nickname, George went on to become a member of the British Royal Society for Arts, the first African American to have a monument in his honor, and the agricultural advisor to both President Teddy Roosevelt and Indian activist Mahatma Gandhi. After the war ended, George continued to live with his former master, Mr. Carver, and learned to read and write. George especially liked the study of plants, botany, and he eventually used his passion and knowledge to shape the South as it recovered from the war. For years, Southern farmers had planted cotton almost exclusively. George knew that planting one crop for too long was bad for the soil, so he researched and invented new uses for plants, such as peanuts, sweet potatoes, and soybeans, so that people would grow them instead. His advice helped heal the economy, the soil, and the lives of former slaves who especially needed to have successful farms. When George later directed the agricultural department of the Tuskegee Institute, at Booker T. Washington's request, he sometimes took his botany classes straight to farms so that farmers could learn without having to leave their fields. Though he stayed mostly out of politics, George's enthusiastic and practical attitude, as well as his contributions to science, helped to steer the country straight after a period of terrible turmoil. The following excerpt is from a brief sketch of my life written by George Washington Carver at the request of Mrs. Helen Milholland in 1922. I was born in Diamond Grove, Missouri, about the close of the Great Civil War, in a little one-roomed log shanty on the home of Mr. Moses Carver, a German by birth and the owner of my mother, my father being the property of Mr. Grant, who owned the adjoining plantation. I am told that my father was killed while hauling wood with an oxen team. In some way he fell from the load under the wagon, both wheels passing over him. At the close of the war, the Ku Klux Klan was at its height in that section of Missouri. My mother was stolen with myself, a wee babe in her arms. My brother James was grabbed and spirited away to the woods by Mr. Carver. He tried to get me, but could not. They carried my mother and myself down into Arkansas and sold my mother. At that time, I was nearly dead with the whooping cough that I had caught on the way. I was so very frail and sick that they thought, of course, that I would die within a few days. Mr. Carver immediately sent a very fine racehorse and some money to purchase us back. The man, Bentley by name, returned with the money and myself, having given the horse for me. The horse was valued at $300. Every effort was made to find my mother, but to no avail. In the meantime, my only two sisters died and were buried. My brother James and I grew up together, sharing each other's sorrows on the splendid farm owned by Mr. Carver. When just a mere tot in short dresses, my very soul thirsted for an education. I literally lived in the woods. I wanted to know every strange stone, flower, insect, bird, or beast. No one could tell me. My only book was an old Webster's elementary spelling book. I would seek the answer here without satisfaction. I almost knew that book by heart. At the age of 19 years, my brother left the old home for Fayetteville, Arkansas. Shortly after, at the age of 10 years, I left for Neosho, a little town just 8 miles from our farm where I could go to school. Mr. and Mrs. Carver were perfectly willing for us to go where we could be educated the same as white children. I remained here about 2 years, got an opportunity to go to Fort Scott, Kansas with a family. They drove through the country. Every year I went to school, supporting myself by cooking and doing all kinds of housework in private families. At the age of 19 years, I went back to see my brother and Mr. and Mrs. Carver. I had not improved much in stature, as I rode on a half-fare ticket. The conductor thought I was rather small to be traveling alone. I spent the summer here and returned to Minneapolis, Kansas, where I finished my high school work. The sad news reached me here that James, my only brother, had died with smallpox. Being conscious as never before that I was left alone, I trusted God and pushed ahead. In working for others, I had learned the minutiae of laundering. I had opened a laundry for myself, got all I could do. After finishing high school here, I made application to enter a certain college in Iowa. I was admitted, went, but when the president saw I was colored, he would not receive me. I had spent nearly all of my money and had to open a laundry there. I was liberally patroned by the students. I remained here until spring and went to Winterset, Iowa, as first cook in a large hotel. One evening, I went to a white church and sat in the rear of the house. The next day, a handsome man called for me at the hotel and said his wife wanted to see me. When I reached the splendid residence, I was astonished to recognize her as the prima donna in the choir. I was most astonished when she told me that my fine voice had attracted her. I had to sing quite a number of pieces for her and agreed to come to her house at least once a week. And from that time till now, Mr. and Mrs. Milholland have been my warmest and most helpful friends. I cooked at this hotel for some time, then opened a laundry for myself. I ran this laundry for 1 year. The same Mr. and Mrs. Milholland encouraged me to go to college. It was her custom to have me come at the day and rehearse to her the doings of the day. She would invariably laugh after such a recital and say, "Whoever heard of any one person doing half so many things?" She encouraged me to sing and paint, for which arts I had passionate fondness. In 1 year's time, I had saved sufficient money to take me to Simpson College in Indianola, Iowa, where I took art, music, and college work. I opened a laundry here for my support. After all my matriculation fees that had been paid, I had 10 cents worth of cornmeal and the 5 cents I spent for beef suet. I lived on these two things for 1 whole week. It took that long for the people to learn that I wanted clothes to wash. After that week, I had many friends and plenty of work. I would never allow anyone to give me money, no difference how badly I needed it. I wanted literally to earn my living. I remained here for 3 years, then entered the Iowa State College at Ames, Iowa, where I pursued my agricultural work, taking 2 degrees, bachelor and master. After finishing my bachelor's degree, I was elected a member of the faculty and given charge of the greenhouse, bacteriologic laboratory, and the laboratory work in systematic botany. Mr. Washington said he needed a man of my training. I accepted and came to Tuskegee nearly 27 years ago and have been here ever since.